like the practice days during the week. But
so let's talk about this track. 2 whoop sections out here today, and that was one of the things they talked about last week. The whoops breaking down. Even Jason Anderson mentioned it. A lot of people mentioned it, how intense they could be and how crazy they change throughout the program.
Yeah, and it's the type of breakdown that matters. You get to some of these, central U.S. and East Coast tracks where the dirt is soft. What happens is when they break down, we're going to see Jimmy Martin right here. Watch. As they're blitzing the tops, they're kind of digging up the top of the whoop, and the roost falls down in between them, so they kind of roll out in the bottoms, and they start kind of folding into the next whoop like dominoes. So by the end of the night, I mean, these guys might be going up a middle of a rut or just kind of blitzing through them.
Crazy unpredictable.
But when you go on the West Coast tracks or anywhere where the dirt is hard, they start to cup out of the top. They don't really fill in between, and then they kind of hold up. So it's a different type of breakdown for these riders, and you got to be good at both to make sure you're successful in this sport. And each and every week you show up at a different race and different set of whoops.
And that's a kinder, gentler whoop section that Jeremy Martin just went through. There's pretty basic through that backside whoop section of the 2.
Yeah, a little rolled out there on the backside. That the longer set next to the front run there is a lot tougher. But yeah, just to have 2 sets back, Kristen, I like that for the riders. It's a better way to challenge them on a Supercross track.
Now, Daniel, just a note on both whoop sections tonight. 2 sets of whoops, but one built by a dozer, the other built by a loader. Now, Daniel, some riders seem to think that changes the section based on what they're built with. I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
They're 100% right, and the reason why is when you build with like a rubber tire loader, you're able to get on when you're packing them. So yeah, the dozer whoops are going to flatten out, they're going to fill in, they're going to roll out, and that's what you're going to find with that. You get on a rubber tire loader with that weight and that big giant bucket in the front, you can kind of clean them up, scrape them up better, and of course put more weight on the top while you're building, so the whoops will last a little bit longer. And there's a definite feel difference when you're out there, and the riders are to the point now where they understand, oh, this set was built like this is what might happen later tonight, and they're very conscious of that.
Jet Lawrence and Austin Fortner swapping back and forth. Fortner was up on top of that 49.723 for a brief moment. Then Lawrence came across the line with a 49.715. So it looks like a hundredth of a second difference roughly between the 2. Hampshire on the 24 up in 3rd. Here goes Lawrence through that whoop section that we were just talking about.
Well, Jet looks great. Obviously, if you're looking at the leaderboard, you're going to see Fortner right there, so you know he has the speed. And last week was a nice little battle there for a corner or 2. We didn't really get the fireworks that we would hope out of these 2, but I think for Austin Fortner, he's just being patient. Had a good conversation with him yesterday. His approach is a lot different than he's had in years past, and he was pretty content to be on the podium and get a 2nd place to Jet Lawrence. But I don't think that those content vibes are going to last much longer, especially in this Triple Crown format. I expect Fortner to be a lot more aggressive, not only with the track, but with Jet Lawrence if he gets the shot at it tonight.
52 of Kyle Peters here, coming off 3 championships in the
Arena Cross.
Right? Sorry, 3 in a row, actually. And I know Kristen knows a lot about that, but I'm going to go to Joseph on the track.
Yeah, so I had kind of a question for Mr. Blair. So based on these lap times, you can see that Austin Fortner is so far pretty close to Jet Lawrence. And we were able to see at the last Triple Crown, when we were in the West Coast, that Christian Craig was able to separate himself a lot from the field. Do you think that if Jet Lawrence didn't get so good of a start in one of the main events tonight, that he would be able to showcase like extra speed that we haven't seen? Or do you think that this class is more, I guess, like competitive in terms of timing and how stacked it is?
Well, Mr. Allen, that's a great question. And I would say the multiple answers. The first one is Christian Craig at Glendale, with the track the way it was that night and the competition with missing a couple of the star riders, was able to get through the field a little bit better than I think he would have been able to on these East Coast rounds, because 2 reasons. Number 1, this track is going to be a lot harder to make up time and make passes on. And number 2, the competition is deeper through the top 10. But if you put Jet Lawrence in a situation like that where he has to open it up fully, I think there is more speed there. And talking to him and the people around him, they said that there was more in the tank last week, that he didn't exert everything that he had, and his hope is that he doesn't have to this season. But in Supercross, there's going to be a time when he's going to have to unleash that top end speed, and maybe it's tonight, maybe it's deeper in the championship, but I do think he has a little bit more, as does this rider right here, Austin Fortner. I do not believe that he showed everything last week. He did what was needed to be on the podium, had a clean night in that main event, But as we get further into this championship, I think you're going to see Lawrence and Faulkner show a little bit more speed than we saw in Minneapolis.
Jet Lawrence bringing up that speed now, 49.225 to the top of the boards. Faulkner there at a 49.723. So he's opened up the gap a little bit. Hampshire still hanging in third place. McAdoo now in fourth. Enzo Lopes moves up into fifth on the number 80.
That's a great ride by Lopes. Yeah, I mean, kind of an underrated ride last week. He was awesome in Minneapolis, and to be able to come out here in the first qualifier of the night and swing like that with a 50.7, top 5 on the board, that's great for the Club MX team to have Enzo Lopes come out like that.
Let's take a look. Here are the standings across the board. We're going to go over who is in the point